Order. I have received a letter from the Honourable Simon Bridges seeking to debate under Standing Order 389 the removal of the Hon Clare Curran from Cabinet and her resignation of 2 portfolios. Now, this is a particular case of recent occurrence that involves ministerial responsibility. Not every ministerial resignation will lead to an urgent debate being accepted, particularly where the minister concerned has resigned portfolios rather than ceased being a minister altogether. However, in this instance, the Prime Minister has removed a minister from Cabinet for conduct involving answers to questions from this House. After weighing up the circumstances and the public interest in ministerial probity, I have decided to allow the debate to be held today. Therefore, I call on the Honourable Simon Bridges to move that the House take note of an urgent matter of public importance.
Mr Speaker, over the Clare Curran saga, we have seen some of the weakest leadership this Parliament has ever seen occur under Jacinda Ardern. Some of the weakest leadership we have ever seen. Mr Speaker, it's been part and parcel. Actually, it's been more than that. It's been symbolic of a torrid and incompetent, a shambolic few days for the Prime Minister, who's leading a government of absolute amateurs. Look no further than Willie Jackson, who's not here actually, Mr Speaker. They are failing to get off the ground. And Mr Speaker, let's just go through the facts of what we've seen happen here with Clare Curran and the Prime Minister. Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister found out, 3 Mondays ago, we are told, 3 Mondays ago, about her former flatmate, now Minister in the government, and her meeting with Derek Handley, Mr Speaker. It took months and months and months to get to the point where the Prime Minister learned and Clare Curran fessed up. Actually, according to David Cormack, someone who writes his columns usually on me, but for once has done a column on something else only because the Internal Affairs Department has said so. Months and months and months, Mr Speaker, for this meeting to come out. And we are told that this is just an honest mistake. It's just an honest mistake what's happened here.
From a train wreck of a minister.
And why then was it that the meeting with Derek Handley, wait for it, this is remarkable, was only a week after Clare Curran had been asked questions in this Parliament about the very same sort of thing, secret meetings she wasn't recording with Carol Hirschfeld. Mr Speaker, the very same issue the week before, secret meetings, not declared, and we are led to believe that that's just an honest mistake. Well, I say to this House, either it was intentional, or if it wasn't, it was a special form of stupid, Mr Speaker, by that minister. And either way, Clare Curran should have been stripped of her warrant, stripped of all ministerial responsibilities, and no longer be in this Parliament as a minister. Paul Eagle's coming through. I think that's probably true. Reno too. I've heard that one too. But, Mr Speaker, there's more to this than just the months and the months that it took for this to come to the Prime Minister's attention in terms of the timings. Because when she found out, Prime Minister Ardern, about this on the Monday afternoon, well, do you think she acted, what, on the Tuesday? Tuesday afternoon? Wednesday? Wednesday afternoon? Thursday morning? Friday, 4 p.m, the Prime Minister put out the issue in relation to Clare Curran and told the public about it some 5 days later. That's not only weak leadership, that's stupid, Mr Speaker. And it is as cynical as it gets in this parliament. And don't believe me, my good old friend David McCormack made it quite clear. He said it was very cynical. And if he says that, look, I tell you, it's at the top end of cynical, Mr Speaker. And why was it? Why was it at 4 o'clock on a Friday? Well, because the Prime Minister had come back. She wanted to have an announceable every day, show everyone how good things were going. We had some really significant announcements over that time. We had wheel clamping from Chris Farfoy. Wheel clamping from Chris Farfoy. Well, it worked for me. It got me into Cabinet. It had no public importance, but it got me into Cabinet. So good luck to Chris Farfoy on that one. And we had our 153rd working group from the Prime Minister, an acknowledgement that they are failing business, they are failing the economy, and they are showing no leadership whatsoever in that area. They couldn't do the right thing until Friday afternoon, 4 o'clock. It was weak, it was stupid, and it was incredibly cynical. And it was too little, too late, Mr Speaker. It was too little, too late. Because it could have been Tuesday, it could have been Wednesday, it could have been Thursday, it could have been, but it wasn't. And it was too late, too little, actually, Mr Speaker. Because after the secret meeting with Carol Hirschfeld came the secret meeting with exactly the same secretive formula with Derek Handley. And we all know the saying, you fool me once, not you, Mr Speaker, but you fool me once, shame on you. Fool me twice, shame on me. And yet Clare Curran still has her warrant. She still has her ministerial salary and her perks. And I know what Helen Clark would have done in this situation. Oh, well, what would she have done, Ruth Dyson? I know what she did to Ruth Dyson. It took about 4 minutes. Well, I tell you what, Clare Curran would have been gone straight after Carol Hirschfeld. She would have been gone after that Astoria breakfast, not by lunchtime, actually, Mr Speaker. And I know what John Key would have done in that situation. It would have been exactly the same. And yet Clare Curran, really as a symbol of the Prime Minister's lack of leadership, is still there on her ministerial salary and with those ministerial perks. And what about the substance of the meeting with Derek Handley? What do we know about? Well, firstly, we know it was in relation to a position of Chief Technology Officer. A problem, I should say a solution looking for a problem, Mr Speaker, an absolute waste of time. No need for it. No one is calling for it. The tech sector is saying they don't know why it's happening. And as, look, no necessary friend of the National Party's, but Spin-Off says in relation to this, much of New Zealand's tech community has reacted with derision to a report entrepreneur Derek Handley is all but certain to soon be announced as New Zealand's first Chief Technology Officer. It goes on to quote many in the tech sector. It has the potential to become a major embarrassment for the government, said one, while another referred to what they perceived as his poor industry reputation. He was presumably unvetted. The storm was best captured by Nat Dudley, quote, literally everyone I know in tech, an industry known for arguing over the stupidest stuff, like which almost identical JavaScript framework they're going to use, is united in the idea that Handley would be a terrible pick for NZ CTO. And it goes on and it goes on, and we're hearing, you're right, Amy Adams, that he is going to get it, despite the appalling secretive process. And this appointment leads to all manner of wider issues for the government here. It's exactly right, Amy Adams. It smacks of Steve Mahari. The arrogance of this government that officials don't need to be involved in appointments and processes, secret meetings, secret phones and secret email addresses not just in relation to Derek Handley, but Steve Mahari. Actually, we heard today in questioning Mark Goshi, who was, we're led to believe, actually in the process of being appointed while Rabin Rabindran was still in the job. And the Prime Minister talks to us today. She has the audacity to talk to us today about natural justice. Well, she should show Mika Whaitiri the same sort of natural justice she showed Rabin Rabindran. Actually, absolutely appalling. And it's not just this person, it's many, many other. Well, my friend over there says bye-bye. This is the guy that jumps up and down because he's at 2% in the polls and he knows it. Look at him. Look at him, Mr. Speaker. And despite the rhetoric of transformation, of this, what has the Prime Minister said? This being the most transformative, the most open and transparent government ever. And what have we got? The Minister of, quote, open government has been sacked for her complete lack of transparency and openness in relation to all things secret meetings, secret mobile phones and secret emails. And, you know, we're here, well, let's see where it goes, Chris Farfoy. Let's see where it goes. This guy over here, Chris Hipkins, vigorously writing. He's getting his clever lines out, but he knows what I'm saying is right. It's the kind of government and secrecy Hillary Clinton would be proud of, Chris Hipkins. That's what we're seeing here. And it's not just Carol Hirschfeld. Of course, it was with Derek Handley as well. And what did Tim Murphy, Herald editor to newsroom editor as well, say about the transparency of this government? All hope, all transformation, all openness. He said Labor's record of deletions or obstructions under the Official Information Act, for example, has been as bad or worse than all previous governments. Mr. Speaker, Bryce Edwards, a commentator, has also made quite clear on Clare Curran, and it's the affair around this. It has led to a whiffiness on this government, Chris Hipkins, a whiffiness that I can smell right here as I stand across from the member, a tarnishing effect on the government. Shame on Clare Curran, who is still getting her ministerial salary, and shame on Prime Minister Jacinda Ardern for her weak leadership for allowing it. Clare Curran, Mr. Speaker, is a symbol of exactly what is happening in this government. It is weak, it is incompetent, it is a shambolic government, and rather than fairy dust breezing around the government, I think it's asbestos, Mr. Speaker, actually. And it's breezing around the cabinet table as we speak with the litany of fiascos. Because it's not Chris Hipkins, just Clare Curran. It's not just that. Actually, it's a young Labor camp where zero accountability has been had for that. It's Shane Jones in open defiance because he knows, actually, what a fiasco yet another working group is on the real issues small businesses are saying to me, and if he's getting out and about, they'll be saying to him as well. It's Winston Peters on refugees. It's Mika Whaitiri, where it's very simple. All the Prime Minister needed to do was look that minister in the eye and ask her what had happened. It doesn't take another working group, another review, and several weeks' process. I know what Helen Clark, I know what John Key would have done on that. And the incompetence that we're seeing from the likes of, well, many, many ministers, but let's just pick on Willie Jackson this afternoon, who says a few percentage points don't matter, Mr. Speaker, and went on the nation with more fake news than Donald Trump has in 2 months, Mr. Speaker. It was absolutely a shocker. Well, on this side of the House, Chris Farfoy, the wheel-clamping man, will always be famous for that, if nothing else. Well, you're focused on the big issues, that's for sure. The government really is. Well, I say to those members on the other side of the House, on this side, we won't be weak. will be a strong and stable government with high growth policies that will get this country back on track. We'll provide the certainty that 160 some working groups and counting, one every couple of days of their tenure is going on. We're doing the work now, whether it's on SMEs right at the moment, whether it's in other groups, to give this country a real choice at the next election and to give it the leadership, not the weakness, that it deserves.
The Honourable Chris Hipkins.
Mr. Speaker, there's one message that's abundantly clear.